Yes, as Kelly said, my name is Peter, and I'm co-founder of Staer, but also do a lot of other things. When I go back and look at like what it is I'm actually passionate about, is apart from me being, growing up in communist DDR and being like a convinced communist and agitator for my school before the wall came down. I'm mostly interested in big vision approaches to things. So Neo4j, the first kind of like bigger effort, apart from all other open source things I founded, is a way to internalize open code and open source and open effort into a business model that scales, and apparently it does. So to keep the four freedoms there and also make this internally scalable concept to put money behind it. Mapillary was a similar approach to open data. Keep the data open, Creative Commons share alike, but put money behind it to be able to utilize that to make planet-wide change and power other open source and open data companies like OpenStreetMap, who's producing some of the best geographic data we have now. And now with Staer, we're applying what we learned at Meta and Mapillary to robotics and making the open space more accessible to humans and machines. But aside from that, I've been realizing there's other questions, and one big there is the big commons, the air, water, biodiversity, and so on. Now sailing up is AI as one of the big commons. So I got 3 questions that I'm actually going to concentrate on. In my work, quite like concrete, what's happening with AI. I come from a very hard software background. What's happening right now is, and I think you all see that, is that software as a field of work and skill is basically breaking down, together with open source movements. Like communities are getting destroyed by auto-generated pull requests. There's no community in just approving stuff that people put into Claude and send you 100 a day. And now we have, Claude Mythos finding all these bugs that someone needs to fix. So I think like software as a line of work and self-definition is disappearing. You have now context that you need to round trip. At Staer, we took a decision last October when we started to basically not write a single line of code ourselves. We removed edit buttons from our internal things. We're not editing by hand anything. This thing is generated also. I think we need to start moving into making the team work together in a way that is not just human, but even empowering your central context. So we built our own thing for that, but you can do it in other ways, right? But just to say, anybody can build anything, as you said. Like problems that we thought were hard for people are not existing anymore, and that I think is hugely empowering. Is that only positive? No. We're creating a lot of stuff that is just burning tokens, and the energy for that is just phenomenal. I would almost say AI is a bit like plastic. We got this super material that solves buttloads of problems, and it sterilizes. It makes things. I mean, we have plastic everywhere, and however, we are not equipped and we are not caring how to handle this stuff. So we contaminate our environment with microplastics, with plastic bags. AI, I think, is such a super dual-use technology. We cannot refrain from this because we will solve so much stuff, right? And we know we can solve it. I mean, there's several companies in here that use AI to go do revolutionary stuff. However, we are spoiling our internet and ourselves with micro AI, with microslop. We make our internet basically unusable. We drown in like fake knowledge, and that is something we need to learn. or we will end up with microplastics. I mean, that's a serious problem now, right? A weak signal. Well, compute replaces human work. We are now at the point where bigger data centers are actively displacing work. Anybody who sits in front of a computer and works with anything that's remotely logic related, coding, spreadsheets, like anything that is done inside will be automatable. I'm not saying everybody will be automated, but there is a big risk that, or not a big risk, actually a big opportunity. However, that is also like point two. We have the case now, and we see this in Staer and other like societal critical applications, that we cannot verify, we cannot audit AI to the point where we not just sit in ChatGPT where the human is in the loop, but actually off the loop. If we want to put a truck into an environment where there's humans, there's no way right now we can trust any AI not to run into the wall. And there's no way. I mean, if you read Kalle's link from Anthropic, just coming out like the other day, even Anthropic has no idea how to verify, to audit, and to make AI deterministic. So this is all good as long as we are sitting here and, oh yeah, I can do all this stuff. But if you really put it into like a watch or something that controls anything physical, we probably need post-LLM models. The whole throw data into a big heap, put transformers on it, and hope that something comes out, and then discover what else is the side effects of this, is probably not going to work. Even energy-wise, we have a big problem there, right? We encode the whole world to do an if statement. That's kind of not what we want to do. And then yes, on the positive side, more and more becomes solvable for some of the biodiversity assessments in some of the efforts we're doing. We're actually just taking the drone images and the data, saving it for next year, knowing that next year this will take zero effort together with the next assessment. Instead of spending some weeks on this now, we're saying, oh, we have the base data. So we will, when biodiversity is computable, we will just go back and evaluate that data, and it will be much cheaper then. So let's not spend the effort now. And then, the future, yeah. So one big thing that comes from this is if compute replaces human power, what happens to the value attached to human input? Now, if that is compute, then we should start treating compute just like, say, atomic energy. We should make ourselves account for this. If we build data centers up in northern Sweden with clean energy that feed like 600,000 GPUs, what is the alternative? Could we do something else for it, or are we feeding Bitcoin miners or feeding weather models? In my opinion, that's a big problem. And also, the effects of this are quite profound. If everybody in this room needs to change jobs, what does that cost? And where does this cost come from? I mean, the benefit has been 80% at Anthropic. Everybody here refers to Claude. I mean, these are people sitting, in the US in a world where we would like to have some control of both the value but also the data that is prompted into these systems, right? Then also, I think with this comes a revaluing of genuine human values. And that is a bit what Hampus said. Like, we need to start treating ourselves not as inferior and do what we talked about before here and do kind of like knowledge maxing. Everybody has their agents. Oh, this is so cool that we can do all this, and everybody gets nervous about being dumb. Well, maybe we should just embrace this and say, you know what? This is not longer a unsolvable or a status driving problem. Let's concentrate on the stuff that's genuinely human. Life stuff. You go to a concert to experience things that's not perfect. Otherwise, you can just go to Spotify, right? And redistribution of status. Right now, in order for this to happen, like this shift in what we deal with, more intent and less implementation, we need to redistribute status. We work in these jobs that are becoming shifting, if not say irrelevant in some places, but where we need people, like in nursing, like in nature restoration, in teaching, these branches have less status right now. So we need to kind of like redistribute money and status into these efforts. And if we do it right, we have this kind of post capitalistic possibility to use UBI and other measures to come to a world that we want. Otherwise, we are at the knee of self-improving AI right now, and I think we have a very limited time span to make this transition or not. Otherwise, we will just make it into something that potentially can be very bad for us, implicitly or explicitly. So that's me. That's all I have.